Oh, ladies and gentlemen, this week on Adventures with Pappa J, we've got a true treat for you. We are going to compare the arcade edition of Joust being played on an arcade 1-up, specifically the Midway Legacy cabinet. We're going to compare that to the Atari 2600 version of Joust, the Atari 5200 version of Joust, and the Atari 7800 version of Joust. Which Joust is going to come out on top? You'll just have to stick around to find out. Plus, at the end, there may be a little surprise edition we'll also take a look at. So here is the arcade edition of Joust. As a reminder, it's played on the... Roll back the volume a little bit. It is played on the Midway Legacy. Aha! My first volley came up short. Let's go. This game rocks. I remember whenever I'd see it in the arcade, I would get really excited. And I love the Looney Tunes skidding on the feet. Got you. Now. Oh, God. He got me. So anyway, this is Joust. This is how it looks in the arcade. Ugh. It's a phenomenal game. It's a classic for a reason. Now let's take a look at the Atari home versions. Here is the Atari 2600 version of Joust. As you can see, the birds are all monochrome. Oh! And again, I lost my first Joust. The birds are all monochrome. You don't really see the launch pads that your birds come out of. Ooh. And your eggs will just float around until they hatch instead of landing and waiting for a bird to come and give them a ride. Your platforms are nothing but just lines. Ooh. But the control is decent. It feels... This is where Atari really came in late in the game. The game really feels like Joust. Even if it doesn't look that much like Joust, it still feels like Joust. Ooh. And your lava pit is opened up. Ooh. Let's grab this egg. Uh-oh. That egg hatched. So let's see. There we go. Oh. There we go. This is Joust for the Atari 2600. So here's Joust for my much beloved Atari 5200. You can tell I spent some time with this version. Yeah. This is the jam right here. Now you'll notice, with the exception of the lance, the birds are still monochrome, but you actually have platforms instead of lines. Yeah, you can tell I spent some time on this version as a youngster. This was one of my favorite 5200 ports. Oh, just got whacked. But the sounds are much better. Ugh. Sounds are much better. The graphics much cleaner. Whoops, I always give that extra flap because I freak out. There, I should have given the extra flap. So this is the Atari 5200 Joust. This is Joust for the Atari 7800. Again, you can see you have platforms. The colors are a bit brighter. The sounds aren't as good as the 5200 because they did not use the Pokey chip. This is just using the Atari 2600 sound chip. Oh, almost. Oh, damn. You can see your birds are nicely colored. And this version is probably the most accurate to the arcade. Whoops. Graphically speaking. I feel like the 5200 may play closer. Oh, to the arcade. That's wild. Let's grab that egg. There we go. That's how it's done, boys and girls. All right, so I mentioned that there may be a surprise at the end. Let's take a look at the surprise. This is the surprise, ladies and gentlemen, being played off of a Hyperkin Game Boy player right there. You have the Game Boy version of Joust, which also came with Defender. So is it good? Let's take a look. There it is. Sounds are a bit stunted, a bit muffled. But it was designed for little handheld speakers. You can see your birds are nicely colored. But yeah, the sounds are really rough. But the control is great. You don't get a lot of altitude out of a flap. So you do have to stay on the flap button. Oh, or you'll get killed. Ooh, you got a multi-flap. Look at that. Okay, you hit the other button, and you just flap right up to your doom. But this is the Game Boy version, and it looks pretty good. If you're on the road, and this is what you got, I'm going to imagine you're pretty happy with it. I would be. Let's wrap this up. I would say there were very few surprises in today's comparison. The 2600, ultimately playable, a lot of fun, made a lot of concessions for the lack of power. The 5200 really came through with all the elements of Joust, everything you wanted, but the graphics were a bit bland. 7800, graphically, it was a powerhouse, but the sounds were a bit lacking. The gameplay on all three of the editions were phenomenal. And what about that Game Boy edition? What did you think of that Game Boy edition? Let me know down below in the comments section how that 8-bit version compared to all the much older 8-bit editions. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Please like and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys later.